Good morning, students. Say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்ல ஆசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book. Take page number 43. So today we will continue with history, that is the world after World War II. Okay, so previous class we discussed about how the communism government was established in China. In today's class we will discuss in detail about the Cold War. Okay, so the Cold War, that is the rivalry between America and Soviet Union, that is Russia. So because of their Cold War, so Cold War means so not involving war directly, but they have so they waged a war on political, economic and ideological front. So they won't use military forces. Instead they waged war on political, economic and ideological front. So because of the Cold War, so there were several military alliances formed. So formation of military alliances, there were several military alliances formed. We discuss about that. Then we will discuss about the Korean War, then non-aligned movement, then the Cuban Revolution. So Korean War, non-aligned movement, then Cuban Revolution. In today's class we will discuss about the Cold War, the definition, and also the formation of different military alliances. So after World War II, so there were several military alliances formed. So we will list out some military alliances. Then we will discuss about the Korean War. So Korea, so which is in east of Asia, so that lies in between Russia, China and Japan. So Korea, the Korean War. Then non-aligned movement. So some of the countries so refused to join either America and Russia. So they remain neutral. So such countries were called as non-aligned movement countries. Then we will discuss about the Cuban Revolution. So Cuba, an island country. So already I told you. So which is located near to America. So located in Atlantic Ocean. So we will discuss about the Cuban Revolution in today's class. In our previous class, we discussed about the Chinese Revolution. So China in the pre-war period. So before the world wars. So China, what was the situation in China? So actually China, she had a well-versed civilization. So already in 9th standard you have discussed about the civilization. So Chinese civilization, so very ancient one. But its development process stopped. So its development process lagged behind when compared to the Europeans. So the Manchu dynasty ruled China for more than 300 years. That is from 1650 onwards. So China was ruled by the Manchu dynasty. So it stopped the growth process. So China was not that much developed country before the war. So China was often attacked by the foreigners, especially by Japan and also the European powers. So the people rose against the ruling dynasty, Manchu dynasty, and several times. So one of the major rebellion was the Taiping Rebellion, and also the European powers so defeated China in the Opium War. All this made China economically very weak. So at this junction, so China emperor introduced several reforms, but it was not liked by the empress. So she put the emperor in jail, prison, and returned back the reforms. But she also soon died. So the empress Dowager, she died in the year 1908. After that a newly elected emperor was just 2 years old. So the provincial governors declared their independence. So during this time, Yuan Shikai, so who served as the minister in the Manchu administration, began to control the country. But he ruled for 4 years. So during his period, so there was unity in China. So during his period, there was unity in China, but he also died within 4 years. But after that, China was ruled by a central government, but it was only in name. So during this time, so there was a lot of confusion in China. So at that time, Dr. Sun Yat-sen established a party called as Kuomintang Party. So Dr. Sun Yat-sen died in the year 1925. After that, the Kuomintang party came under Chiang Kai-shek. So Chiang Kai-shek, he represented the landlord and capitalist in the Kuomintang party. But Mao Zedong, so he was a staunch follower of communism. So after the death of Yuan Shikai, so the communist ideas began to spread in China. Okay, so Mao Zedong was the strong follower of communism. So now the Kuomintang party, led by Chiang Kai-shek, he supported landlords and capitalists. But the communism, that party was led by Mao Zedong. So communism party was supported by large scale peasants. So he organized a march that will become a long march. So, okay, so that is which took place in the year 1934. So at the end of the march, Mao had become leader of over 10 million people. So that took place in the year 1937. So in the year 1939, Second World War broke out. So Japanese captured some of the territories in China. At this time, Mao Zedong decided to support Chiang Kai-shek because in order to face the Japanese attack. But after the war, when Japan was defeated, Chiang Kai-shek tried to capture the regions from northern provinces, so from the northern provinces with the support of America. But the most of the army men, so they were from peasant, so they were from agriculture family. So they began to support Mao Zedong and revolted. So finally Mao Zedong established the Chinese Communist government in the year September 1945. But America refused to accept Republic of China. So people Republic of China for more than 2 decades. Okay, so these things only we have discussed in our previous class. Okay, so long history about China. So how China is formed their communist government. So Chiang Kai-shek and also Mao Zedong. So Chiang Kai-shek supported the capitalist landlords and Mao Zedong supported the peasant. So they were in large number. So and also they were served in military also. So Chiang Kai-shek only with the support of America, United States, can able to stand against the communist, against Mao Zedong. But finally he was defeated and he was sent and he escaped to nearby island called as Taiwan or Formosa. So these things only we have discussed in our previous class. So first, what is Cold War? So the rivalry that developed after World War II between the United States and the USSR and their respective allies created tension which is referred as Cold War. So the rivalry that developed after World War II between the US and the USSR and their respective allies created tension which is referred to as Cold War. So they did not take recourse to weapons. So recourse means so source of help in difficult situation. So they did not take weapons. Instead they waged war on political, economic and ideological front. So they did not use their military strength. But they wage war on political, economic and ideological fronts. So this is termed as the Cold War. So they won't involve in war directly. But their political and economic influence is high. So they try to help other countries to establish their form of government. That means Russia support the countries to form communism form of government, while the American government, so they support other countries, that is the allied countries, to form capitalist form of government. So non-communist form of government. So that is termed as Cold War. So Truman's policy of containment of communism. So Truman, so President of America in the year 1948. Okay, so containment means action or policy of preventing the expansion of hostile country, that is enemy country or influence. So the action or policy of preventing the expansion of enemy country. Truman's policy of containment of communism. So Truman's policy of containment of communism. In 1948, the Soviets had established socialist government in the countries of Eastern Europe that had been liberated from the Nazis by the Soviet army. So during World War II, so Russia so invade Germany from its eastern side. So Germany's eastern side was occupied by Russia, while the western part was occupied by the American, Britain and France forces. So while capturing Germany, she occupied the nearby countries like Poland, Austria, Hungary, etc. So those countries, in those countries Russia established the communist government. So in 1948, the Soviets had established socialist government in the countries of Eastern Europe that had been liberated from the Nazis by the Soviet army. So Eastern Europe was occupied by the Nazi army. So in 1948, so Soviets established the socialist government in those countries. Truman, the president of America, followed a policy of containment of communism. The Soviets were, however, determined not only to maintain control of Eastern Europe, but also keen on spreading communism on worldwide. So here the Soviet, so the Russia, so not only want to establish a communist government in Eastern Europe, but want to establish a communist type of government in worldwide, in all over the countries. So if you take European countries, Eastern European countries mostly following communist form of government. So they are not developed that much. And if you take Western European countries, so if I tell some of the country name in Western European means, you may know. So like France, Portugal, Spain, England. So these are the Western European countries. So they developed well. So they were non-communist countries. So if you take Eastern European countries like Poland, then Czechoslovakia, then Hungary, Austria, so like that. So they are not that much developed. So they are communist countries. So they were running the government with the support of Russia. So Truman's policy of containment of communism. So Truman wanted to fought against this communism concept. So the Marshall Plan. So in order to stop the influence of Russia's communism policy, the US conceived the Marshall Plan to bring the countries in Western Europe under its influence. So in order to control the spread of communism, the United States government conceived the Marshall Plan to bring the countries in Western Europe under its influence. The plan sought to help the countries of Europe with American dollars to make easy their early recovery from destruction caused by the Second World War. So in Europe was vastly affected by the Second World War. So already Eastern Europe was greatly helped by the Russian forces, Russian government. So in order to stop their control, in order to stop communism to spread to Western countries, Western Europe countries, America decided to help those countries which were vastly affected by war. So decided to help the Western European countries which were vastly affected by war. So for that they introduced a plan called as Marshall Plan. So the United States was much concerned that poverty, unemployment and dislocation caused by the post-World War II period were increasing the appeal of communist parties in Western Europe. So the America was much concerned that poverty, unemployment and dislocation caused by the post-World War II were increasing the appeal of communist parties in Western Europe. So that means, so the problem created after World War II, so make easy for the communist ideas to spread. So the Secretary of State George C. Marshall advanced the idea of Europe self-help program to be financed by the United States. So the Secretary of State, so America's government Secretary of State George C. Marshall advanced the idea of a Europe self-help program to be financed by the United States. 16 nations became part of this program. 16 Western European countries became part of this program. Administrative and technical assistance was offered through the Economic Cooperation Administration of the United States. So Marshall Plan funding ended in the year 1951. So in order to stop the Russia's influence in the Western European countries, so America introduced the Marshall Plan. So after World War II, Europe, the Western Europe countries were vastly affected by poverty, unemployment and dislocation problem. So this problem led to the spread of communism ideas. So in order to prevent this, American government under George C. Marshall created a plan called as Marshall Plan. So they gave technical and administrative assistance so to the war affected Western European countries. So the Marshall Plan funding ended in the year 1951. So now Russia and America began to form military alliances. So now Russia and America tried to establish several military alliances. So some of the military alliances formed after Second World War were NATO, then SEATO or Manila Pact, then Warsaw Pact, then CENTO or the Baghdad Pact. Yeah, so the military alliances so formed after Second World War were NATO, then SEATO or otherwise called as Manila Pact, then Warsaw Pact, then CENTO or the Baghdad Pact. Okay, so we will discuss one by one. NATO. So expand for NATO. So North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So the United States and its European allies formed the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to resist, to stop Soviet aggression in Europe. The United States and its European allies, especially the Western European countries, formed the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to resist, to face the Soviet aggression in Europe in the year 1949. It was an interstate military alliance between the countries of North America and Europe. So it was an interstate military alliance between the countries of North America and also Europe. So the major member countries included Canada, Belgium, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal and the United Kingdom. So later Greece and Turkey joined the organization in the year 1952. So Germany also joined the NATO in 1955. So NATO, an organization, so North Atlantic Treaty Organization, so formed by the United States and its European allies to resist the Soviet aggression in Europe in the year 1949. It was formed in the year 1949. So the countries of North America and Europe so were formed this organization. So the countries included in North America were United States and also Canada. Then European countries, Belgium, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal and United Kingdom. So later Greece and Turkey also joined this organization in the year 1952. Germany joined NATO in 1955. So the chief objective, so the main goal of the NATO was peace and security in the North Atlantic region. So the chief objective of the NATO was peace and security in the North Atlantic region. So the countries located near the North Atlantic Ocean. So if you see the NATO organization, the countries mostly located near to the North Atlantic. So that's why they named it as North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Then SEATO or Manila Pact. So the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization. So was organized for the collective security for countries in Southeast Asia. So the Southeast Treaty Organization, SEATO, was organized for the collective security of countries in Southeast Asia. So following the signing of Manila Pact, so Manila, so that is the capital of Philippines. So a pact, an agreement was signed in 1954 in Manila. So which country signed the Manila Pact? America, France, England, New Zealand, Australia, Philippines, Thailand and Pakistan. So they signed the Manila Pact and formed the SEATO, so that is Southeast Asia Treaty Organization. So member countries of SEATO were committed to prevent communism from gaining around in the region. So member countries of SEATO were committed. So their commitment is to prevent communism from gaining ground in the region. So they have to stop the spread of communism in their region. Unlike the NATO alliance, the SEATO had no joint commands with standing force. So NATO had military forces, so joint military force, but SEATO had no joint commands with standing forces. So NATO was established in the year 1949, while SEATO, that is Manila Pact, was signed in the year 1954. So America is forming military alliances like NATO and SEATO. Then what Russia is doing? So as a counter to the NATO, Soviet Union organized the Soviet bloc countries for a united military action under the Warsaw Pact. So as a counter to the NATO, Soviet Union organized the Soviet bloc countries for a united military action under the Warsaw Pact. In December 1954, a conference of 8 European nations, namely Albania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Poland, Romania and Russia, took place in Moscow. So Moscow, the capital city of Russia. They concluded the treaty on May 14, 1955. So they concluded the treaty on May 14, 1955. This is known as the Warsaw Pact. So Warsaw, so it is located in Poland. As a counter to NATO, the Soviet Union organized the Soviet bloc countries for a united military action under the Warsaw Pact, under the Warsaw Agreement. So Warsaw, it is located in Poland. In December 1954, a conference of 8 European countries. So what are the 8 European countries? Albania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Poland, Romania, and Russia. So took place in Moscow. They concluded the treaty on May 14, 1955, which is known as the Warsaw Pact, Warsaw Agreement. A joint command of armed forces of the member countries with its headquarters in Moscow was set up. So like NATO, Warsaw had also the armed forces, joint command of armed forces. But the Warsaw Pact was dissolved in 1991 following the breakup of USSR. So the Warsaw Pact was dissolved in 1991 following the breakup of USSR. CENTO or the Baghdad Pact. In 1955, Turkey, Iraq, Great Britain, Pakistan and Iran signed a pact known as the Baghdad Pact. Yes, in 1955, Turkey, Iraq, Great Britain, Pakistan and Iran signed the pact known as Baghdad Pact. So Baghdad located in Iraq. In 1958, the United States joined the organization and thereafter it came to be known as the Central Treaty Organization, CENTO. So initially the Baghdad Pact was signed by Turkey, Iraq, Great Britain, Pakistan and Iran in the year 1955. In the year 1958, when United States joined the organization, it came to be called as Central Treaty Organization. So this treaty was open to any Arab nation desiring peace and security in the region. So this treaty was open to any Arab country, any Arabian countries who want peace and security in their region. But CENTO was dissolved in the year 1979. So if you take Warsaw and CENTO, so they were dissolved. But NATO, so still it exists. So NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So the member countries, they are still forming the joint command. So NATO, a powerful organization existing still now also. Okay, so these are the different military alliances. So that were formed because of the Cold War between Russia and America. Okay. So Korean War. So Korea, so you know the country located in east of Asia. So that is in the Pacific region. So Asia Pacific region. So just if you see in the map, a peninsular like structure, a peninsula was seen in the east of China, that is just below Russia, and also towards the west of Japan. So Korea. So Korea was divided into two countries, North Korea and South Korea. See, North Korea, you can see the communist form of government, while in South Korea it was capitalist form of government. So American supported government. So the Korean War made the Cold War really hot. Since Korea was partitioned as North and South in the year 1945, each side sought to win. Each side want to win legitimacy. So legitimacy means right or acceptance of an authority. So each side, each country, that is North Korea and South Korea. So both of them want to unify the country and establish their power. So North Korea wanted to capture South Korea and establish a communist form of government, while South Korea tried to capture North Korea, tried to attack North Korea and establish a non-communist form of government. So this result in quarrel, this result in war between them often. Okay, the president of North Korea, Kim Il-sung, People's Republic of Korea, decided to act before his southern rival Syngmanri, the Republic of Korea. So the president of North Korea, Kim Il-sung, that is People's Republic of Korea. So the official name of the country was People's Republic of Korea. So he wanted to act before his southern rival Syngmanri. So the official name of Southern Korea was the Republic of Korea. He launched an attack in June 1950 with the tacit support of Stalin. So North Korean president wanted to act before South Korea and he launched an attack on June 1950 with the support of Stalin. But both Kim and Stalin did not expect that the US intervened in the war. So North Korea attacked South Korea in June 1950 with the support of Russia, with the support of Stalin. But they didn't expect that the United States intervene in the war. So the war lasted for 3 years. The human cost was enormous. but the Korean people gained nothing. So only the human cost, only they lost their lives. But there is no benefit in this war. So North Korea, supported by Russia, Stalin attacked South Korea in the year 1950. But they didn't expect the US to intervene. So the war lasted for 3 years. The human cost of this war was enormous, but the Korean people gained nothing. The third world countries. So the capitalist countries led by the United States were politically designated as the first world countries. So the capitalist countries led by the United States were politically designated as the first world countries, while the communist states led by the Soviet Union came to be known as the second world countries. So the capitalist countries led by America were politically called as first world countries, while the communist countries led by the Soviet Union came to be known as second world countries. So the countries outside these two were called as the third world countries. So the countries which were outside these two, that is capitalism and communism countries, were called as the third world countries. So mostly the third world countries include the colonies of Africa, Asia and Latin America. Okay. So we have discussed about the military alliances. So name the military alliances so formed after Second World War. NATO, SEATO, Warsaw, then CENTO or Baktak Pact. Then we discussed about the Korean War. So who was the president of North Korea in the year 1950? Kim Il. Then his southern rival was Syngman Rhee. Then we discussed about the third world countries. So the countries led by America, so capitalist countries, so they were designated as the first world countries. The countries led by the support of Russia, so came to be known as second world countries. The remaining countries were called as the third world countries. So now non-aligned movement. So the non-aligned movement emerged in the wake of decolonization that followed after the World War II. So the non-aligned movement emerged in wake of decolonization process that followed the World War II. At the Bandung, a city in Indonesia, a conference took place in the year 1955. The newly independent countries of Asia and Africa gave a call for abstaining from allying with any of the two superpowers. So a conference that took place in Bandung in the year 1955. So the newly independent countries of Asia and Africa gave a call for abstaining. So abstaining means so stand away. So that is stay away from the two superpowers. So not joining any power, that is Russia or America. It also pledged to fight all forms of colonialism and imperialism. So the non-aligned movement held its first conference at Belgrade in 1961. So Belgrade, which is in Yugoslavia. So the non-aligned movement conference so held its first conference at Belgrade in 1961 under the leadership of Tito from Yugoslavia, Nasser from Egypt, Nehru from India, Gruma from Ghana and Sukarno from Indonesia. So their first conference took place in the year 1961 at Belgrade, under the leadership of Tito, Nasser, Nehru, Gruma, Sukarno and these persons only. Tito, Nasser, Nehru, Gruma, Sukarno. So the basic principles of non-aligned as listed in the statement issued at the Belgrade. So Belgrade, a Serbian city, then it became a part of Yugoslavia. So Serbia, can you remember the country Serbia? In First World War you have learned. So now it became a part of Yugoslavia. So the basic principles of non-aligned was listed in Belgrade Conference. So they were peaceful coexistence, commitment to peace and security, no military alliance with any superpower, no permission for any superpower to build its military base in its territory. But with the collapse of Soviet Union, the idea of non-aligned lost its importance. So the non-aligned movement had its principles, had its basic principles. So they were peaceful coexistence, commitment to peace and security, no military alliance with any superpower, no permission for any superpower to build its military base in its territory. But after the collapse of Soviet Union, so the importance of non-aligned movement lost. Okay, next is the Cuban Revolution. So the United States had its satellite state. So satellite state means, so formally they are independent in world, but they were under heavy political, economic, and military influences or central control from the another country. Yeah, so satellite state means so formally they are independent. Yeah, but they are under heavy political, economic, and military influences or control from another country. Yeah, the United States had its satellite states in Central America. So that is Central America means the countries lies between North America and South America. Yeah, so Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, and Guatemala. Yeah, so these countries, so they are located between North America and South America. Yeah, and also the Caribbean island, that is Cuba, Dominion Republic, and Haiti. Yeah, and also in East Asia, that is it includes Philippines, South Korea, South Vietnam, and Thailand. Yeah, so these states were governed by the ruling groups made up of military personnel, landed gentry. So gentry means so high class social people. Yeah, and occasionally of local capitalists. Yeah, the United States had its satellite states. Yeah, so that is the United States had control over these states. So what are the states? So the countries in Central America: Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, and Guatemala. And in the Caribbean island, so they are also located in Atlantic Ocean to the south of United States. Yeah, that is Cuba, Dominion Republic, and Haiti. Yeah, and also in East Asian countries: Philippines, South Korea, South Vietnam, and Thailand. Yeah, so these countries, so they were mostly controlled economically, politically. They were indirectly controlled by America. Yeah, so these states were governed by ruling groups made up of military personnel. Yeah, so these states were ruled by persons from military or from landed gentry or from high class people from high class society, and also from the local capitalist. Okay, but in Cuba, when Fidel Castro took power, so initially after World War II, so Cuba was ruled by Batista. Yeah, but his government was overthrown by a revolution by Fidel Castro along with his friend Che Guevara. Yeah, so you heard about Che Guevara. Yeah, so after Castro took power, the US owned oil refineries on the island refused to process Russian oil. Yeah, so after Castro took power, the US owned oil refineries. Yeah, so in Cuba, United States have oil refineries. Yeah, so they refused to process Russian oil. So Castro nationalized them. Yeah, so Castro took control. So Castro declared that the Cuban government will take those oil refineries. Yeah, so the US retaliated. So retaliated means so make an attack in return of similar attack. Yeah, so the United States, so in order to revenge this, so put an end to the arrangement by which it bought the bulk of Cuba's sugar. So the United States retaliated by ending the arrangement by which it bought the bulk of Cuba's sugar. So Castro nationalized the US-owned sugar companies in Cuba. And ended the US monopoly, US control of electricity and telephone. So all these things gravely threatened American economic interest. So already Cuba was a satellite state of America. So Cuba was ruled by Batista. So his power was, he was overthrown by Fidel Castro and his colleague Che Guevara. So after, because he captured power, he is a staunch follower of communism. So America, what they did means they refused to process Russian oil. So US owned oil refineries refused to process Russian oil. So Castro nationalized those refineries. So the US retaliated, that is make an attack in return of a similar attack by ending the arrangement by which it bought the bulk of Cuba sugar. So Cuba is famous for sugar. So the world famous country for sugarcane is Cuba. So Cuba is the leading producer of sugarcane. So America, what she did means she stopped. She refused to buy Cuba sugar. So Castro nationalized the US owned sugar companies and ended the US monopoly in electricity and telephone. All these things threatened American economic interest. So now problems start between America and Cuba. So because in Cuba communist government was established, so that was not liked by America because Cuba just located near to America. So America supporting capitalism. So when a communist form of government was formed just near to his territory means she will like it. No. So that is the problem. Cuban missile. So missile means weapons, crisis, a time of danger. In April 1961, while landing an army of Cuban exiles on the island of Bay of Bigs. The US bombed Cuban airfields with the objective of overthrowing Castro regime. So since Castro nationalized all the US owned companies and ended the US monopoly in electricity and telephone, America decided to launch an attack in Cuba to overthrow Castro's regime. So Castro's government. So in April 1961, while landing an army of Cuban exiles on the island of Bay of Bigs, the US bombed Cuban airfields with the objective of overthrowing Castro's regime. The Kennedy government had received intelligence that the USSR was secretly installing nuclear missiles in Cuba. In 1961, the president of America was John F. Kennedy. So the Kennedy government received secret information that Russia was installing nuclear missiles in Cuba. So finally, the Soviet president Khrushchev agreed to withdraw the missiles, and thus the missile crisis was diffused. So finally, the Soviet president Khrushchev agreed to withdraw the missiles, and thus the missile crisis was diffused. Eventually, the two sides reached an agreement. The Soviet Union removed the missiles from Cuba on an understanding that the US would never invade Cuba again. So America wanted to overthrow Castro's regime, so she sent his army towards the island of Bay of Pigs and bombed the Cuban airfield. But they received intelligence that Russia, USSR was secretly installing nuclear missiles in Cuba. So finally they reached an agreement. So based on this, so Soviet President Khrushchev agreed to withdraw the missiles from Cuba, and United States accepted not to invade Cuba, so not to intervene in the affairs of Cuba again. So thus the Cuban missile problem was solved. Okay students, today's class we discuss about Cold War. So the definition of Cold War. So rivalry between America and Russia. So first Truman's policy of containment of communism. Then Marshall Plan. So Russia tried to establish their supremacy. So tried to establish a communist form of government in Eastern Europe. In order to stop their spreading of communism, America conceived the Marshall Plan in the Western European countries. So we have discussed that Marshall. So George C. Marshall, the Secretary of State of America, introduced the Marshall Plan. Then the formation of military alliances, so different military alliances, NATO, SEATO, Warsaw, CENTO. Then we discussed about Korean War. Then the third world countries. Then non-aligned movement. So non-aligned movement emerged in the wake of decolonization that followed the Second World War. So then when the first conference of non-aligned movement took place? In 1961 at Belgrade. So who participated in the first conference? Tito from Yugoslavia, Nasser from Egypt, Nehru from India, Nkrumah from Ghana, and Sukarno from Indonesia. So then we discussed about the basic principles. Then we discussed the Cuban Revolution. So name the satellite states in Central America for United States. Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, then Guatemala. Then who became the president of Cuba? So who captured the power in Cuba? So Fidel Castro. Then we discussed about the Cuban Missile Crisis. In which island the American forces landed? In Cuba. Bay of Bigs. In which year? April 1961. So what was the agreement between America and Russia? The Soviet Union removed the missiles from Cuba, and then United States decided not to invade Cuba again. So this was the agreement. So Russia agreed to withdraw its nuclear missiles. At the same time, America agreed not to intervene, not to invade Cuba again. So this was the agreement. So we have discussed these things only. So first we discussed about the military alliances, then Korean War, then non-aligned movement, then Cuban Revolution. So if you have any doubt in this topic, so please contact me. Okay friends, take your book. Textbook reading. So take page number 43. So read the formation of military alliances. So read all the heading: NATO, CETO, Warsaw, CENTO. So read all the heading. Yeah. Then homework. So take page number 52. Your 2 mark. So third question, what do you know of Baktak Pact? So come to page number 44. So see the heading, CENTO or the Baktak Pact. So write it fully. That is the answer for third question. Then fourth, what was Marshall Plan? So take page number 43. So the Marshall Plan heading. So write it fully. This conceived the Marshall Plan to bring the countries in Western Europe under its influence. The plan sought to help the countries of Europe with American dollars to facilitate their early recovery from the destruction and caused by the Second World War. So this is the answer for fourth question. So write it in your homework note and read it well. So thank you students. Have a nice day.